హలో ఇప్పుడు ఎక్కువ మంది ఉన్నారు.
Hello everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll come back by 9:1092. Okay. By the time everyone joins, I'll be there. Okay. Thank you. Hi, yes, I'm back. Okay, 13 of you are here. Let me just paste and keep the MCQ. Okay, before that, just wanted to make sure from you guys, are the notes uploaded daily?
No.
No. Okay, Tata batch people?
Bhusan uploading on video. I think the note is there, right?
Yeah, so we have I'm making sure that it is uploaded or not.
Madam,
So-
from iterator and
Once-
generator, we don't have the notes.
Okay, okay. So, okay, so this is for Baba batch. How about Tata batch people?
Ma'am, we are like me. I'm doing note in the time of lecture only. So I
Okay.
think there is no note provided by Bhushan. Bhushan is handling the notes.
Yeah, could you just confirm if you have notes? Because
No,
there
ma'am,
were,
not here.
okay, so for the last two lectures alone, you don't have, is it?
No, last lecture, not ma'am. Last maybe 5 or 4 lecture. Let me check once.
Okay, okay. For Baba batch, only last two lectures, is it?
Yes, madam, from iterator and generator. Like,
Ma'am, which book is good for like front end part?
Sorry, Sudhakar, can you come again?
Yeah, which book is good for front end part?
Book, okay, that we will come to,
Yeah,
yeah, that we will come to that later, but I just wanted to make sure this one, because there was one comment in the review saying they want notes. As per my understanding, it has to be uploaded daily. Okay, I'm not the one who's doing it, but there are people, teaching coordinators and people doing it. So I just wanted to make sure if it is just because you have the notes
posting.
already. Yeah,
Ma'am,
already I am not,
oh,
I thought like it is already uploaded. Yes, go ahead, Sudhakar.
ma'am, double IFE intro to NSYNC operation and call apply all. They are no. We have no
Okay,
on that.
okay. Yeah, maybe
Yes,
the
6
last
yes.
few lectures are missing. Okay, I'll try to confirm. I'll try to inform that to
No,
the.
no, ma'am.
Uh,
We have, ma'am.
you
From
have for.
iterator and generator. No, iterator and generator from that I don't have.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just make sure
Yes.
that inform them to just check that for both the batches. Yeah.
So, ma'am, today is JavaScript last day, na? So,
Yes.
from tomorrow, what we are going to teach?
Backend introduction.
Okay.
Yes. I'm adding it. Yeah. I'm adding Rajneesh. I'm adding MCQ. Give me a minute. Yeah, I have added it for Tata batch, and yeah, I'm doing the same for here as well. Read the question and then answer. Read it once or twice. See the options. I would still suggest you to just get the answers first and then look at the options, because it will confuse you. Yeah, I have added for Ba batch as well. Rupam, yes, we are going to see the concept today. Okay, so whatever you don't understand, let me know. We will also try few examples of how freeze is working, how immutability. Yes, freeze is just to make it immutable. Just because you use freeze doesn't make it truly immutable. Okay, how you use it, what keyword you use it also matters. Yes, we will see that. Okay, so this notes part is clear so far. Okay, added MCQ. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, good. So I just created the copy of the to-do project because earlier we had one. I don't want to disturb that because that is already discussed in class. Okay, so if I change it, people will be like, most of the things are modified. Okay, so I just created a copy of it. The changes, I haven't uploaded it. Yeah, I'll upload that one. Let's have a quick revision of whatever we saw yesterday. Okay, and then we will continue with today's session. Okay, what was the topic we saw yesterday, guys? No, I need answers now. Yeah.
ES6 module
and
Yeah.
local storage session.
Yes, correct. Rupam and sure.
and storage.
Yeah, okay, good. Thank you for that. Okay, so what are the problems ES6 modules are solving?
Like modularity, efficient scoping.
Okay. Abhishek, would you like to take the chance and explain? Bhushan, Rahul, yeah, go ahead. Nileshwar? Yes. Yeah, I was asking Bhushan, I was asking like what are the problems that ES6 modules are trying to solve? Okay, what were we able to achieve by using ES6 modules?
The size of file we reduce, and
correct.
also we help to searching of
Correct. Yeah, more of modularity thing, right?
Yeah.
Then
It is separate the files.
yes, that is modularity. We can group all of those in terms of modularity, right?
Code is readable.
Yeah, code is readable. Readable, I won't say, because you can still have it in a same file and make it readable, right? Like modularity, you can say, yeah, easy readability, like in terms of searching, accessing the files. Yeah, that you can tell.
If someone new person is taking the project, it will good for it.
Yeah, very good point, Rahul. Yeah, one other important thing. Yes, debugging is easy. Rupam, correct. Prague also debug easy for debugging. Yes, correct. Abhishek has also told the same. Yeah, I know where the issue is. Instead of going to the entire line, more of all comes under the modularity thing. All the points which you are talking about. We discussed two other major things.
Yes, ma'am. Efficient, then scoping.
Yes, efficient in terms of? Anyone else? What it is efficient in terms of?
Unnecessary requirement of means storage, you can say.
Yeah.
Easy to use, because where we don't require a function which is not required in a particular module, so why that's will be there.
Yeah, correct. Very good, Shabam. Yeah. Can anyone else explain how scoping comes into picture? Shabir, would you like to do it? Junaid, Nileshwar, would anyone of you explain how ES6 modules helps in scoping and what it is actually?
Can you show the code actually? Please show the code. Yesterday code.
Yesterday code, yeah, this one. This part was not covered in the class. I showed you in the console. Yeah. Yes, Sudhakar, can you explain what scoping is? How scoping is different in when you use as a module? Adil?
I'm not sure me, but
Mhm.
we can't create a, duplicate variable. Is that making sense, Siri?
No, duplicate variables is in terms of importing and exporting functions or variables from multiple files, right?
Okay.
So there is a important point which we discussed on scoping. Anyone?
Ma'am,
Mhm.
yeah, so ma'am, here we can variables can be accessed, or where we have to access that variable outside or inside that scopings.
Yes,
So we
correct. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So if this was not a module and if it was imported just as a JavaScript file, okay, just a simple JavaScript file, if it was not a module, okay, let me go back to that file. Yeah. This count variable or this cart variable would be accessible in the console, right? Because it is in the global scope. Right. So once you create multiple files as a separate modules, okay, only in that file you will be able to access. It will not be exposed to any files or in the console or in the global scope unless and until you import and use them. Okay, else it will not be accessible. Okay, so that is what we mean by module scoping rather than having it in global, local. Okay, this actually, if it is not a module, this variable in line 6, right, is in the global scope, correct? If it was not a module, it would be in the global scope and it would be accessible in the console, right? So since I have created as a module, modules have their own scope and it is not exposed to your HTML files or your global scope. Okay, got it? Yes, Rupam, a good explanation on that. Okay, so we saw a few ways of importing and exporting. Let me close everything. Close all. We saw a few ways of importing and exporting. I exported, there is default export and there is named exports, right? So if it is a default, yeah, if it is a default export, you add a default and you need not know in the script file, you need not mention inside the curly braces. You can simply access it from the file. By default, whatever things you have exported, you will be getting that in the script file. Okay, so this is default export. Add a default keyword wherever you wanted to add it. Okay, yeah. So and then we saw named exports, right? I can just add keyword export like this. Okay, so, to everywhere when I wanted to export, and use the same name to import in the other file, right? You use the same file, same name like this, all the named exports. Okay, to import them, you can use the named exports. Then we saw exporting multiple things together, right? Instead of adding export keyword in all the places, no, I just can have a one single statement below and then export only that. Okay, so these are different ways of exporting, and then only if you export you will be allowed to import here, else you will get error because it is module scoped. Anywhere outside the file, if you wanted to access, you will have to use this export keyword, else you will not be able to access in other modules. So now I am trying to import here. Okay, if it is a named export, I will have to mention them inside the curly braces, like curly braces or flower braces, whatever you call it as. Okay, curly braces, and then you will have to mention the variable. Okay, if it is a named export. If it is a default export, you can simply add a variable name and then export all the defaults. Okay, if you have some conflicts, like if you have a count variable here and I also have a count variable here, okay, I have done a named export, so I will have to use the same name in my script file to import it. So I can only use count. Okay, but I already have a count variable here, so it will result in a conflict, as somebody discussed, right? It will result in a conflict. So when I am importing, I can just rename it to whatever variable naming or function naming I wanted to using this keyword called as. Okay, so once you have renamed it, you can use this new variable name to access the variables or functions imported from other modules and have the same name in my module as well. Okay, so these are the different ways of importing, exporting files. Okay, more on project structure we talked about, okay, yesterday. And yeah, any doubts with this, guys? No? Everyone? 36 of you are here. Everyone clear? Even if one of you have, this is the last class, you can ask, I'll try to finish it up as soon as possible, today's topic. Okay, ask any doubts you have. Okay, so if this topic is clear, we can move to next one. Everyone?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, so then we talked about storage APIs, right? So we saw too much of theory yesterday. Okay, so coding, we'll finish the coding part. Okay, just a simple 5 or 6 things you have in the coding, and then we will discuss the theory part again. Okay, so local storage and session storage, how do you add items? Okay, these are just key value pairs, similar to how you have objects or similar to how you have map. Have you learned map data structure in your
Yes.
DSA?
Yes. Map.
Similar to how you have key value pairs. Okay, this storage, local storage and session storage are also key value pairs with one restriction. Okay, with one restriction that both these key and value has to be of type what? String, correct, right? Type string. Okay, it doesn't accept any other data structure. If it is a primitive data structure, let's say numbers or boolean like this, primitive data types, it will convert it into string. Okay, even though if you give 10, it knows how to convert it in string and it will handle it. Okay, but non-primitive data types like objects and all, it doesn't know how to convert it into strings. So you will have to convert all the things into a string and then add it. So did we not see few methods how to convert how to convert JavaScript objects to string, guys? JavaScript objects to
There's
strings.
some arrays there, like some.
Yeah, what
Then JSON, ma'am, JSON.
JSON dot
Arrays.
stringify, right? So this you will have whatever objects you have, right? So this is how you will convert JSON objects to strings, right? So how will I convert strings to JSON objects?
Parse.
Yes, you have JSON dot parse, and then you give the string whatever you have, right? String object. Okay, so this is something which we saw earlier itself. Okay, so everything should be converted into a string data type and then added. Okay, and then added to your local or session storage. Okay, I added it, but I wanted to get it right. So similar to set item, have use the key to get it. Okay, you have the get item function. Okay, dot clear just clears everything in your local storage or session storage. This is something, the syntax is something similar to both. Okay, wherever I have local storage, replace it with session storage and then add the same thing. If you see, same set of things are available. Okay, that being said, okay, this is used to clear everything. Get the length. Let's say I have 2 items, it will give you 2, right? Get the length of how many items I have in my local storage or session storage. Okay, let's say I wanted to remove only one key. Okay, let's say I have age here. I just wanted to remove one key. I just mentioned the key name and then give remove item and then call remove item method. Got it? This is pretty much about the coding part. Wherever you wanted to add it. Wherever you wanted to fetch it. Okay, get the data from it and then go as per your logic. But this is more to do, from interview perspective and all. More about how your local storage and session storage behaves is something very important. This is very simple, right? How to use it is and all is very simple, straightforward thing. Okay, so now tell me what local storage and session storage are and why it is useful. Okay, I'm going to call some people who are silent in the class. Sorry to do that. I don't want to do it, but people, I just want you to get interactive. Okay. Saurabh Boma. Yeah. Are you there? Hi. Hello. No response. Okay. Shiva. Are you there? Okay, Junaid, yes, go ahead, Junaid.
Ma'am, local storage is a storage.
Storage? Junaid, are you there? Okay. So you can go ahead.
So, ma'am, local storage have more space according to session storage. And
Yes.
like if you will restart the browser, so the local storage don't lose any data. Like if it will open the one, like for example, like when I am opening Flipkart, okay. So if I am logging in and I am putting some on cart, so it will redirect to my next page, but not asking any identification on next browser. Okay,
Correct.
but in the session storage, next like banking identification, they will lost the data to for the next browser, like that. As
Yes.
session storage allow less space according to the local storage.
Yes, correct. Very good, Sudhakar. Can anyone of you tell me what's the difference in cookies and local and storage data? Ganga, can you go ahead? Himanshu? Ashwati? People unmute yourself and answer. Even if it's wrong, no problem. We are learning. We have come here to learn. Okay, not to give correct answers. No, that's not the objective. Okay, Nitin, yeah, what cookies are doing, like why more of like what's the difference in both? Shazia, can you? Yes, people are answering in the messages. Yes, go ahead,
Yes,
Shazia.
Cookies are the history of the users that is stored in a temporary way, and that's for some time, and then they delete their self automatically. Like this.
Correct. Partially correct. Good, Shazia. The thing is, how to delete automatically and all is something the information sent by the server. Okay, so you can have deleting time to live data, like delete it after 1 hour or delete it after invalidate your tokens and all. For example, I told you, right, the login and all. So it would be stored. Cookies are basically data sent by the servers. Okay, so for the servers to be helpful. Okay, first time when you send request, okay, from your browser, if you are a new user to some websites, first time when you send a request to your server, more data about who is sending the request or how should I authenticate them. Okay, more of user specific. Let's say you are going to fetch Flipkart and you are trying to buy a product for the first time. Okay, so when you send this request, instead of processing buying the product itself, before doing that part of the problem which you asked for, it will pre-process many information about you, right? Like who is trying to do, are they authenticated, are they having the roles, all these, right? They need to pre-process it, right? Okay, so they will, for the first time when they pre-process, it is a huge process. So they will send some kind of information, okay, in any format, okay, in any format to your web browsers. Okay, so that when you send the request for the second time or the third time, okay, this information which you already have in your browser, right, in your cookies, okay, will be sent along with the request. Okay, so what it will help, for what it would be helpful is, second time when they are processing the request, okay, they already have few information from the cookies, right? So initial pre-processing load would be much reduced. Okay, for example, you can take the authentication. Okay, first time when I add login using my username and password. Okay, so first time when I give the request, you don't have any tokens and all, simply you give the username and password. Okay, so it handles the request and it will give you back something called as token. Okay, it will store it in your cookies. Okay, so next time when you go and give the second request, would you is it better to again give the username and password? No, right? It has already done that job. Validating your username and password is already done. Okay, but even in the second request, they need to authenticate if you are the right user. So instead of making the users to send your username and password repeatedly for every request, you can just save that in cookies and send the token alone every time. So with that token, it will validate. So it is something used for the benefit of servers, okay, than front end jobs. Okay, cookies have very much less space when you compare. First initially only cookies was there. Cookies are something around 4 KB only. 4 KB data. How much data you can store, guys? Very small, right? That's a very small space. And that is the reason why they came up with session storage and local storage and all. There are multiple other things that the website developers would like to store in the storage, okay, than the data available in cookies. Okay, so that is something, a difference between a cookie. Okay, it is data, your servers can access the data in the cookies. Okay, you will have to obviously give permission, else it will not be able to. Okay, but local storage and session storage doesn't work that way. Okay, we have few answers in the chat. Local storage can store more data as compared to cookies. Yes, correct. Correct, Himanshu. Good. Okay, Rupam has asked local and session, which is better? Okay. Which is better in terms of, it is not one suitable case for everything. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay, I'll give you a few samples. Okay. Let's say you are going to Amazon, right? Like let us go to the browser. Right. So the things you store, see, my name is Jaitun. I'm in Chennai. Okay. Are these data going to change? Okay. Unless and until, it is a different location, very rarely it will change, right? Okay. So let's say, is my name going to change anyhow, anytime? No, very rare case. Like name is not going to change, right? So you go and change the name. I don't know if they allow it, but yeah, that is not going to change, right? So they might have multiple modules in the file itself. Let's say they can have this header part alone as a separate module. Okay, this this region alone where they give all the photos, right? All this alone can be a separate module. correct? And this section will be a separate module, correct? If you go today's deals is again a separate module. In each of these modules, getting the name is something common, right? Do you think will it be better to send every time an API call to the server to get my user details? Will it be better? Yes or no? No, right? Yes, Rupam, correct. No, user details and all, which is something static, it will never change. Okay, so these kind of information, can I put it in my local storage instead of session storage? Right? Even if I open Amazon, my user details, like what language I am using, right, or what region I am in, what is my name, what's my address, all these are something very common, which is not going to change forever. Okay, I cannot use the term forever, but it cannot change, right? Like 80 to 85% it won't change. Okay, so all these I can put it in my local storage, right? Okay, but I cannot put the cookies data in the store in the local storage, because it's very sensitive data will be stored in cookies and all. By sensitive I mean user authentication tokens, all the information which server needs, right? So all those data which are sensitive and will also occupy very few very minute memory. So, and that is the reason it was only allowed 4 KB. Like, it's mostly 4 KB, but yeah, that is how mostly it's designed. Okay. But whereas local and session storage are not like that. Okay, let's come to session. Okay. Even this
Authentication means?
Yes, authentication meaning I am logged in. Okay, so who is actually using this website? Okay, are they authenticated? Are they allowed to use it? Are they using it in a proper way? Okay, have I given the correct username, correct password? Okay, is the user one who has logged in are authenticated? Okay, there's a difference between authentication and authorization that we will discuss when we will see more about backend. Okay, yeah, good question. But by the way, but authentication is more of who is accessing my website, as simple as that. Okay.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, got it. Okay, local storage done. Session storage, what example I can give? Can I add in any detail? Let me check. Okay, let me simply add in some details and let us see if they have actually made some session storage here. Let me reload and try. Okay, they have not done it. Okay, let's say you are filling in a form. Okay, at NU also they have it, like the create MCQ part, right? Once I add some MCQs and keep it, and if I reload the page, it will be there in the form. Okay, let's come to this example only. You might have multiple details here, like Chennai, Delhi. Okay, I might have in midway, but I have not clicked find buses or more of I haven't done any operation. I'm just filling up this form, right? So the user hasn't performed any big task and all, just filled up. Let's say you have a bigger form where you have 10 to 20 fields. The user have filled almost half of it, right? So all these can be in session storage, where you can just preserve that only for this particular tab alone. Okay, even if I reload this tab, session storage will be alive, right? Because my tab is alive. Do you all agree with me on that part? Even if I reload, this tab is the session, correct? That particular session. So all these user form details and all, which are not sent to users, or they are in middle of filling up the form. Okay, so all these and all you can store in session details, session storage. Why? Because they are not permanent. They are just specific to this tab alone. Okay, they might change. Okay, just for the more user friendly way, I can store it in the session storage. So by chance or by mistake, if the user reloads or there is an internet problem, Okay, when they load it again, all the forms are, pre-filled with the information. Okay, understood the differences in the kind of data you would store in local storage, session storage, whereas in cookies? Everyone? Yes, right. So that's what I told. Like, it's not which is better. Okay, it's about what you wanted to store it and how long you wanted that data to persist. Yes, more security in cookies. Yes, correct, Rupam. Dheeraj, yes, cookies are sent to every request. Yes, correct. Server-side rendering, correct. Difference between cookies and JWT, both are like altogether different topics, Shubhankar. Okay, JSON Web Tokens they are. JWT is something called as JSON Web Tokens, which is used to authenticate. Okay, cookies is just a storage space. Okay, whatever you wanted to more frequently, people will store. You will find JWT's tokens stored in cookies. Okay, yeah. Okay, that's why we avoid browser storage due to vulnerability, and you use database for that, right? Which prevents from hacking.
थोड़ी कमावा है.
Sorry, Veer. Was it by mistake, or are you telling me anything? Okay. Yes, Rupa, correct. Whatever you have said, right? Like let's not deviate it from our topic, but this much of knowledge based on the local and session storage would be enough. No, we will talk more about authentication, what's JWT, how to store all those and all later. Yeah, databases, we have those. But for now, this is more than enough. Okay. Yeah, I hope you got a brief gist of what data to store where. Okay, depends on the use case, depends on the data, depends on where and all you are using that data. Okay, how long you wanted that data to be there, all those. Okay, more on that. Okay, more again, too much of theory done. Okay, let us go to today's topic. Already 9:40, no problem. I didn't give much yesterday. We didn't have time to talk on what the datas are. Okay, no problem. Okay, today's topic is not more of concept and all, but a programming style. Okay, we are actually done with the JavaScript concepts. Okay. Script. Okay, so let's go to our script file. Okay, so we are going to talk about what is functional programming paradigm. Okay, we can also call functional programming principles, right? So we are going to talk about this style of programming. So what are the other styles of programming? What style does Python follow, guys? Is it styling in terms of, is it object oriented, or is it
Oh yes, it is object oriented.
Okay. Okay. If any one of you are aware of Java, that also follows OOPS, right? Do any one of you know C?
I know Java.
Okay, that is also object oriented language, right? Okay. Do anyone know C language? Okay. Is it object oriented?
No, ma'am.
No, it's not object oriented, right? So each programming, each language have their own style of programming. Okay, so JavaScript, you cannot tell it is a functional programming just because it has functions. You know, just because you have functions in almost all the languages. Okay, so just because it has functions, it doesn't make sense that it is following a functional programming principles and all. Okay, there are certain if you wanted your JavaScript to behave more of a functional programming style, okay, if you wanted your JavaScript to be written to follow the functional programming style, you have certain things to be make note of. Okay, but by default, it doesn't mean just because you have functions, it doesn't mean it is following functional programming principles. Okay, for example, let us go back to ES6 classes. Where did we see that? Probably here. Okay, yeah. So, okay, I have a class here. So is it like, it is object oriented? I have a class, right? I have a class. I can create objects from my class. So can I tell it is object oriented?
Yes, ma'am.
No, not that way, right? If you wanted, this ES6 itself was just brought into place, just because other languages follow the structure. Okay, if you remember the class which I told on this day, on day 13, okay, your classes are internally just constructor functions, right? Everyone remember that? Even though you give this class keyword and all, internally it is just doing your constructor functions job, nothing else. Okay, it is still a plain object, JavaScript object, okay, which is implemented in constructor functions. Okay, so it depends, right? So just if you see here, it is ES6 classes are just syntactic sugar. By default, JavaScript doesn't have a concept called class itself, right? It was it came in ES6 only. Internally, it is just doing the constructor function job only. Yes, Rupam, you can call JavaScript multi-paradigm, but how you structure your program, how you define or how you program the JavaScript, it entirely depends on that. You can follow functional programming paradigm and make it entirely functional programming style to follow it. Okay, it supports everything, like it supports the look and feel of object by using these classes, right? You can have the look and feel of classes by using this kind of a syntax, right? Object oriented principles. So it's more of how you write it rather than having a hard and strict rule. Okay, so we are going to see this functional programming. What are the principles you will have to follow if you wanted to code in a functional programming style? Okay, so can we see what else the things you will have to follow? There is a concept called pure and impure functions. Okay, there's a concept called pure and impure functions. So this is the first one. Okay, if you are trying to follow functional programming style, you will have to make sure that all your functions are pure functions. Okay, all are pure functions. Let's have it pure functions only, so that is the rule we'll have to follow. Okay, let's come to the basic function only. Add. Okay, num1, num2, return num1, num2. Nothing fancy here. Everyone, simple function. Correct? Any doubts on this? Okay, simple function. Okay, now I can tell this as a pure function. Okay, this one is a pure function. Okay, this one is a pure function because it is following two things. Okay, there are two things you will have to make sure so that it is a pure function. Okay, the first one is you name it as, let me type it, but don't get you know don't look at that, it's a different word and all. I'll just type it for transparency. You call it referential transparency, meaning, okay, let's say I call this function add 4, 5. Okay, first time I call, it gave me 9, right? Let me call again.
Actually, return
Mhm.
return now 1 comma. It must
Sorry,
be
sir.
plus.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, num1 plus num2, correct. This will return 9, right? Let me go and call 1, 2. This will return 3. Okay, this let me go and call again 4, 5. Okay, this is 9, correct? Correct. Even if I call this 1,000 times, my answer is going to be
9.
9, right? It is going to be same. So that is exactly what we refer to as referential transparency. Okay, don't worry about the terminology and all. It simply states, okay, for the same set of arguments like 4, 5, 4, 5, right? Same arguments. Okay, for the same set of arguments, I always get the same result. Make sense? Okay, for the same set of arguments, I always get the same result. Okay, let me add another function. Okay, count. Sorry. What should I name it as? Okay, some random function. I'm running out of name, guys. Okay, yeah. So let's say I am adding only one argument, and it is going to return something called, let's name this as skip count. Okay, let me have this as 5 outside, and every time I call this function, I am going to have plus 5. Okay, so these are the two functions. First one is simple add one. Okay, I'm calling it as pure. Okay, and I'm going to call this as impure. Why else? I'll give you the definitions for that. Okay, impure functions. Okay, so I have two functions. One is simple add. The next is simply I'll receive a number, and no, not 5. I will just add the skip count to it. Okay, no, nothing fancy here. All understood, these two things. Okay, so now let me go and call random function with 1. Okay, it will give me, this will give me 6, right? Let me call a random function with 4. Okay, this is going to give me 10, 9. Okay, okay, now I can, let me go and modify this skip count to something called 10. Now if I go and call random function again with the same argument, okay, same argument, now this time I will get 11. Yes or no, guys? Do you all agree with me? Yes.
Yes.
Now if you see here, I am passing in the same argument, but my results are different. Correct? Meaning this result function, right? The whatever it is returning, this function is dependent on this variable, okay, outside, which can be changed at any point in time. You don't know where it is changed, how it is changed. So it is depending on some variables outside that can be modified. Okay, got it clear? Okay, this function is depending on some variable or some functions outside its scope that can be modified at later point in time. Okay, it is dependent, the result is dependent on something that can be modified later. Okay, and that is the reason, even if I have same arguments, 1 and 1, right? But I get 2 different results. That exactly is what we call as referential transparency. The function, let me copy paste the definition. Okay, might not make sense, but yeah, this is it. The function always gives the same return value for the same arguments. Okay, got the difference what referential transparency means? This means that the function cannot depend on any mutable state. Mutable state meaning that it can change, right? Mutable refers to the ability that it can change. It is a let only, no? Let keyword, variables, I can change it anywhere I want. So it depends, okay, the function, actually this random function depends on this mutable state, and so it is not following the first rule of a pure function. Clear? First rule of calling a function as a pure, it should follow referential transparency, meaning for the same set of arguments, I should get same result how many ever times I call. Okay, it should not depend on any mutable state, meaning on any external variables that can change at a later point in time. Everyone, can we go to second rule? Everyone? Yeah, no data dependency. Very simple example. Very simply, you can call it as no data dependency. No data dependency, again, Rupam, good point that you have made it here. Rupam has said that it is a no data dependency. Again, a point to be noted, a small minor point. Okay, no data dependency, correct. Okay, but I'll have to add one more point as well. No data dependency on something which is changeable or which is mutable. Let us say I am going to have this as a const. Okay, will const be allowed to change?
No.
No, right? So it is depending, yes, it is depending on other things outside, but that dependency cannot be changed. In that case, this, you can still say that it is following referential transparency. So this will give me error. So you cannot do this. So obviously when I call it 6, the answer is same. Got the difference? Everyone? Okay. The function cannot depend on any mutable state. Mutable meaning change. It cannot depend on anything that can change later point in time. Can const variable change, guys? No, right? It cannot change. So it is perfectly following referential transparency. Okay, so that's the reason I had it as let and showed you that we can change later point in time, meaning this is a mutable thing which can change, and so it is impure function. Make sense? Thanks for bringing that point, Rupam. Everyone, can we go to next rule? Okay. Everyone, yes, no? Only if I get response, I'll move forward. Okay. Okay. So the next thing is simple. Side effect free. Okay, side effect free. Okay, let us have this comment. Okay, side effect free meaning the function cannot do any, the function should not do any console logs or any IO operations or any file operations, right? Correct? File operations, or it cannot reassign console.log or IO operations. It cannot reassign reassign the variables. Okay, no reassigning should be done. We will come to each one of them. Okay, and one other thing is modifying a mutable object, right? Modifying mutable object. Yeah, we will come to each one of them now again. Okay, so now console.log, everyone understand, right? If a function if this function contains a console.log, this is not side effect free. Okay, it has some side effects. Just side effect meaning this has to perform only the add operation. Why is it performing this unnecessary logging and all? These are some side effects, right? Let's say, okay, so that is the meaning of, doing one thing in a function, but doing these side effects and all. Okay, something not related to the actual job of the function itself. Okay, if there is a logging, okay, you call them as, even though it follows referential transparency, there are some side effects in this function, so you call them as a impure function. So as soon as yes, was it by mistake? Okay. Okay, so as soon as I add console.log, it will become impure function, guys. Okay, clear? Can we go to next? IO? IO meaning all, the console thing, the file operations thing, or you are making some log files, right? You can have instead of doing it in the console, you can have a separate log file and log all your errors there. Read, write, all those you can do. Okay, logging that we will see in backend. Okay, this is one way of side effect, right? Logging and all, error logging, all those if you do, that is also, not side effect free. Okay, next thing is modifying a mutable object or reassigning the variables. Okay, I am receiving two parameters. If I just modify this one to something else, right? All these are, I am modifying the variables or something which can be changed. Okay, for example, let's say you get a person object here. Okay, I am going to assign this person object to a very new different naming or whatever I wanted to. All these are, you are mutating meaning you are changing, right? All these, if you do in a function, okay, that is not side effect free, and that will automatically become impure function. Okay, understood this 4 things?
So
Console,
even if we add an if statement or something like that, will it still be considered as an impure function?
Okay, if statements, okay,
Yeah.
what you are doing inside the if statement matters. If statement by itself doesn't make it impure. Okay, so are you doing any console logging inside if statement? Okay.
No, let's say I'm not doing, but I have like I'm writing a if statement. In that if statement, I have 1 or 2 variable. So will that make it impure?
No, let's say you are inside the if condition, if statement, what you will have? Okay, like, are you talking about the condition part, or are you talking about the inside the block one?
Both the parts. But even in terms of conditions, in terms of block.
Okay, in terms of condition, you will not be logging. Okay, if you are logging again, it's impure. Again, you will not be doing the second one. Again, you will not be reassigning. You will not be reassigning the models objects. So the condition part is clear, right? You will not be doing all these 4 operations. Okay, if you are doing, let's say inside this, if you are doing any of this, okay, inside this, again, it is considered to be impure only. Okay, let's say you are doing some mathematical operation. Let's say you are having a different variable called result, which you are doing num1 plus num2. This is not impure. This doesn't make it impure. Are you modifying the variables? No. Are you modifying the objects received? No. Are you doing a console log? No. Right? Let me comment this as well. Okay, only this 4 is considered, right? Do not do anything other than the actual task itself. Do not mutate it, do not change it, do not go and write something in the file or log it. All these are side effects. Okay, just because I am adding 2 numbers, I should not cause these side effects in the program. Okay, got it, Imran? So in order to, in order to, make your functions pure, you should make sure these 2 criteria are fulfilled. Else everything goes under impure functions. So if your functions are impure, you are not following this functional programming principles. Again, it is not mandatory to follow this. Okay, some program some entire project follow this principle. Okay, not mandatory, but yeah, so these are certain things you'll have to keep in mind when you are deciding to code in a functional style. Okay, so and let's come to, this is impure, pure, clear, guys, everyone? Okay, so what are the benefits? What are the benefits of having pure functions? Okay, that we will have to see, right? Simply because I wanted to give a name as a pure function doesn't mean it is better. Okay, there are a few advantages which I would like to just point out few of them. Okay, again, they are easy to say what you are doing inside. Okay, just add and return, and debug also, right? Debugging very useful, like it is not dependent on any external things and all. Okay, let us stick to return a plus b only. Okay, so testing, in terms of testing, debugging and all, it is very much useful because I am not dependent on any external things for my function to run. I am not depending on any external things which change repeatedly. Again, I'm repeating, only which change. Okay, if it is a const here, again it's a pure function. Okay, and which change repeatedly. Okay, so all those are impure functions, so it will not be helpful when you wanted to test. Okay, let's say you have run 5 test cases for one reason or the other in between the mutable state, right? Let's say the skip count increases, all your everything below that, all your test cases will fail, correct? So it will be easier. And one other thing is, okay, let me have, instead of just adding it, assume that I'm running a for loop from int I equal to 0, I is less than for how many ever things. Okay, and then I am just adding it. Okay, adding it to my sum, or putting it in an array, do something here. Okay, and then return the result, right? Okay, return result. Okay, so this is again a pure function, right? So let's say this is taking 5 ms, I don't know, but let's assume, okay, it's taking 5 ms to run this entire loop and then return the result. It is again pure function. Okay, when I wanted to call this second time, can I save the result of the first thing? For example, let's say if 4,5 is 9, can I save it somewhere stating that if my arguments are 4,5, straight away return the result as 9 instead of running through this function entirely again. Okay, instead of waiting for 5 ms, I can straight away return the result if I have stored it somewhere. Okay, that concept, right, is called memoization. If you have learned in data structures, have you learned catching?
Which one, ma'am? Catching one.
Yeah, avoiding recomputation. Let's say I am running this loop for 5 ms for the first time. Second time, I can just simply store the result and then send it, right, instead of rerunning it again. So that is called as catching or memoization. Okay, so recomputing can be avoided. Okay, but whereas in impure function, if you take, even though you receive 1 here, even though you receive the same argument 1 in this line also, you cannot memoize and return the result. You cannot catch that result and then send it again. Why? Because every time it is dependent on some mutable state, something which can change at later point. So you cannot memorize that, right? So that is another advantage. And also, yeah, again, I told you, right? Like for testing purposes, since there are no dependencies, if I have to perform some logging here, my log file has to be available. Okay, so in order to test this file, I have number of dependencies, right? I'll have to check if I'm able to access the file, if I'm able to write it, or if I'm able to rewrite, read from it. So all these are dependent. Just to add two numbers or just to perform the function operations, whatever I wanted to do, instead of that, I'm doing all these side effects, which is restricting me to test because of multiple dependencies. This Ajax request and all. Okay, Ajax request, if you make an Ajax request, the results might be different, right? Every time I call with the same parameters, I can get multiple responses, right? Depending on the response of the API. Okay, depending on the response of the API, the result itself would vary, right? So that is what, we say that it is easier for testing. Okay, so clear? Pure functions, impure functions, what are the advantages of using yes, there are few things in the chat we will go through once we complete it. Okay, we have a few more topics: immutability and then functional composition. We'll complete that, and I think we will have time to discuss all your queries. Okay, the next thing, okay, first thing is functional pure functions. Okay, your functions should be pure. Second thing is you should have the concept of immutability. Okay, immutability is directly related to whatever we spoke here, right? Immutable, impure functions are dependent on some mutable object. Mutable meaning it can change anytime, something which can change, right? This const is something immutable. I cannot change my const value. Okay, again, it depends on what is there in the const. We will talk about that later. But const for primitive data types, you cannot change, right? So that is immutable. So here I had let. So that is mutable. I can change my skip count. Okay. So you will have to make sure that your objects or whatever variables you, you create, are immutable and are not changing. Okay. So we will see more about that. Okay, what are mutable meaning? Can anyone of you give a quick description? What is mutable, immutable?
Mutable, then we can like add, we can delete, we can insert.
The value changes are immutable.
Yeah, we can.
Yes. Okay, so whenever you cannot change something, an object, an array or anything, then you cannot change it to something else. That is when you can tell that you have an immutable object. Mutable meaning you can change it anytime. Okay, can we see how we can achieve immutability? Everyone? Okay, so what immutability is? Let's say take few examples. Okay, so let's start. Okay, let me copy this one only. Okay, let me have this as const. So once I change this as const, as I told earlier, this will become pure functions. Okay, so because sorry, yeah, excuse me, this will become as a pure function. So this skip count is something immutable. Okay, clear why it is immutable? Okay, this is a very simple example how you are achieving immutable thing. Let's take another example. Let us go to console. That will be better to see the results as well. I'll later paste it in the code. Let us take an object, pass an object which is name, and whose name I can take. Okay, I'm taking Kanhu. Okay, this is an object, person object, everyone. So is this mutable?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, mutable in terms of two things, right? I can change the entire thing as itself, right? Like the entire thing to Nileshwar, right? I can mutate in this way. I can also mutate like this. Let's assume you have multiple other properties in your objects. Okay, I can just change one property alone, right? I can just change this name alone to Rahul. Correct. So 2 ways of mutable. I can completely reassign it to an entirely new object, or I can change a single property alone. Let's say if you have multiple other properties also, okay, yeah, that also you can change. So this is a mutable object. Okay, you are not restricting it to be immutable. Okay, these are all mutable objects. Okay, let's take another example. Const obj okay, is this mutable?
Ma'am, we can mutate the property of the object, but we cannot mutate the object entire because it is constant.
Good, very good. Yeah. Is this mutable?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So for others, the difference is this is a primitive data type. Okay. You cannot go and change age to something like this. Okay. You cannot completely reassign it to something. It is not changeable, right? All these primitive data types, you can, there is only one way of changing it, completely reassigning it. Only one way of changing it is to completely reassign age to something, right? This is not possible. Whereas since I have a constant. Okay. When it comes to objects, when it comes to OBJ, there are two ways to actually mutate it, as someone said just now. Okay. Okay. The two ways are just this one, completely reassigning it or changing only the property name. Okay. So now since it is a const, I am damn sure I cannot do something like this, right? Complete reassignment, meaning obj equal to something like, okay, this I cannot do. Correct? Assignment to a constant variable I cannot do because the same thing I tried earlier, right? I was completely trying to reassign. I'm not able to do. Okay. So looks like that it is immutable, but there is one other way of also to change it, right? We saw in the earlier class, I can just go and access the name. Okay. I can just go and access. Now I can go and change it to Nitin. Can I do this? Did it give me any error? No. Now if I go and ask for object, it is changed. How I changed and all, I don't care. Okay. But it is changed, right? What mutable and immutable states? Anything which you can change are mutable. Okay. How you change, whatever you do it, I don't care about it. Okay. So am I able to change the constant here to something different than it was earlier, even though it is a const? So this is also something called as immutable objects only. Clear? Whereas age is, sorry, got it wrong. Okay, this obj is something still mutable only. Okay, so but age is something immutable because the only way to change it is to complete reassignment. So complete reassignment is not possible with const variable. So it is immutable. Okay, clear with two cases? Everyone? Okay. There is one other concept called object dot freeze. Okay, there is a function called object dot freeze from the object class itself. Okay, let me go to the code. Now the new concept comes. Okay, from inside the object class, you have a method called freeze. Okay, it will just make the objects to be not changed. Okay, you cannot change the objects if you add it inside freeze. That is a very brief explanation. Okay, let's have another object. Okay, obj, which I am going to put it inside object dot freeze. I'm going to put an object name. Okay, Ramanil. Now, do you think I told you that freeze is making objects to not change? Okay, it will freeze the object by name itself you can change, right? Prevents the modification of existing property and values and prevent addition of new properties. Okay, it prevents modification to objects. Now, can I tell that it is immutable? Everyone? I have made it freeze. I cannot change the properties. I cannot add some properties. I cannot remove the properties. It's freezed. Okay, even though it is a let variable, I cannot do the change. Now, can I say it is immutable?
Yes.
No, there is a catch here. If you see the description again, it just prevents the modification of existing property attributes and values and prevents additional of new properties. Okay, by this, you just cannot do dot name equal to something else. Okay, you cannot add anything else. This is not allowed. Okay, what does it say? Prevent modification of existing and also prevent addition or deletion of new properties. This I cannot do. Okay, whereas since it is a let, okay, I can completely reassign them to something different. I can do this. Okay, got it? Got the first case, second case. Now we are discussing a totally different thing. Even though it's a let, I cannot do this thing. Okay, let me show you in the console also. OBJ is already defined. Let me try to clear it. Okay, obj dot name equal to, let's try. Now if I go and ask for obj, it is still the same. Okay, even though I tried, I cannot do. I am making it to be, I'm trying to make it to be immutable using object.freeze, but that is only working for properties. Okay, I can still go and change it to name, right? Now if I go and ask for name, obj, it's completely changed, right? Object.freeze just make sure, okay, that your properties are not modified and not the entire object itself. So we saw two cases. Earlier case, I was able to do this. I was not able to do this, right? So what do you think would be a solution to arrive complete immutability? Where by that I mean I cannot do this also. I cannot modify object also.
By using constant freeze both.
Correct. Very good. Very good. Yeah. Who is that? Bhushan? Who gave the answer now?
Prag, ma'am.
Oh, yeah. Very good, Prag. Yeah. So if you see here, if I use const obj1, let's give a different name. Okay. Put everything inside object.freeze. So I am restricting both of them now. Cannot change the property and also cannot modify the object one also. Now I cannot do something like this I cannot do, right? Because it is a const. I cannot do a complete reassigning. Okay, and now if I go and try to access age alone, again I cannot do. Okay, if I go and ask for, it will not give me an error, but if you can go and ask for, it's still the same because of object.freeze. So this statement is exactly what we call as true immutability or complete immutability. Clear? I cannot do anything. I cannot completely reassign. Neither I cannot change the properties only. Got the difference what freeze is doing, how it is behaving differently with let and const? How to achieve true immutability, everyone? Rupam, you had some doubts with freeze, I believe. But yeah, we will just look at this composition and we will go to the doubts. Clear, guys, how to achieve immutability? This object.freeze is not something only to plain objects. Okay. Let me also clarify that. Okay. My arrays are objects. Everyone? My arrays are objects. My strings are objects. So you can use object. Let us have an array. Okay. Let us have let array. Okay. ARR, which is equal to object.freeze. I can give anything which is of type object, guys. So now I'm going to give 1, 2, 3. Okay, ARR. Now I can completely reassign, okay, but I cannot do, let us do array operations here. Push of 1. ARR dot push not extendable. Type error, cannot add property. 3, object is not extensible. Okay. Can you see? You're trying to modify. You have freezed it, right? You are trying to modify the elements. Again, I'm telling, completely reassigning to a different array is still possible because it is a let. Modifying the array is not possible. I cannot push, or I cannot, what are the things that modify? Pop, right? It all these are mutable methods. If I go back to our array class, arrays and all, I don't know when we saw it, but we saw array methods, if you remember. Concat, all those. Some, yes, this one. Okay, I told you that some things return a new array, some do it in place. Did we not see this, guys? Okay, all those are changing the array. I cannot go and do array dot reverse here. Not possible. Okay, so what can I do if I cannot push? If I cannot push and modify the array, what is the other way around? What is the other way around? If I cannot add elements to the array which modifies the array itself, what is the other way around? Have a new array. What can you do? Can you concat ARR dot concat? Just add whatever you wanted to. Fine. So this will not modify my ARR. It will still be 1, 2, 3, but I can get new array with all the items added. Okay. So for every mutable functions like this, there is an alternative. Again, that is the reason I told it is always, it's not a good practice to delete or modify the server responses and all. Just a minute. There's only 9 minutes. I cannot even quit this. Okay. Let's see what happens. Okay. Understood? What are mutable methods? Push, reverse, pop and all are all mutable methods, meaning it is changing my existing array itself. So I cannot use all those. Okay. For example, map and all is changing my array, or it is returning a new array. Dot map, dot reduce and all, dot filter and all. Can you tell me?
New array.
Yes. So this and all will return new arrays, map, filter and all. So these are not mutable functions. Whereas this splice and this join and reverse and all, something which modifies the existing array. So I cannot use that. So in order to, let's say by mistake also you don't want to modify this existing array, it is better to put it in object.freeze. So you get an error when you are executing it. Okay, so object.freeze accepts all things which are objects. Okay, not only for plain objects, for arrays, strings, everything it will work. Got it? Can you go to some other concept called functional composition? Not this one. Everyone, second concept done. You should achieve immutability. Make sure that you are not changing the objects or mutating it very often. Okay, next thing is called functional composition. Simple, not very complex. Let's take the example which I already have only. Naming is not better. Okay, I add one. Square. There's already a function with square. Okay, class. Simply makes to string. Yeah. let's say I have three methods like this. Okay, three methods. I don't know if somebody of you have learned in your earlier classes, in maths, in the mathematics and all, you would have learned of something of this denotion, right? Like f of x, g of x.
Yes, function of x.
Yes, yeah, function of x, like this, this means this, correct? If you denote something like this, it means this x is applicable to, both of them, and you denote it like this, right? So let's not go into that depth and all. But yeah, let's say this, I have three functions. Okay, I wanted to add one. Okay, add one to my, let's have one only. Okay, with that result, I wanted to square. With that result, I wanted to make it toString. Okay, so I told the order of execution and then showed you the syntax. I should have done the other way around and asked you how it would be executed. But this is composition, right? Using, using the results of one and then simply passing it to another. So how will this statement execute? Is it from left to right or right to left? More specifically, is it from outside to inside or is it inside to outside?
Outside to inside.
Outside to inside. So your first function would be toString, is it? Yes or no?
The first one is add one, then square, then toString.
Yes, correct. So it will go in this way only. Okay, if you go and call toString with these parameters, again internally, this square. So what is the order of execution? Meaning, what is computed first? Add one is computed first. Yes. Then with that result, square. It is passed to square. And with that result, it is passed to toString. Correct? Everyone? So this is, the term which they call it as, functional composition, meaning you can compose multiple functions to simply take the output from one function and pass it to the next. Okay, so that is possible here, right? So simply take the output of this one, instead of saving that in a variable and then passing it, I can just do that in a composition way. Okay, very short form is, there is something, a library called Ramda, if you can go and check. Yeah, I haven't explored too much on this, but if you say a practical functional library for JavaScript programmers, okay, it has few advantages. One thing is, instead of doing it, toString square all the time like this, you can just define one function, like let's say composed function, and you can just use this r.compose. I think we will have to install that library. Okay, you can go and check that. You can just use this, and you can just mention all these function names, right, in the same order that you wanted to execute. Like first it would be toString. Sorry. toString, and then square, and then add one. Okay, so now this is a function, right? You can simply pass in composite function .1. Okay, so this is a library. I think you'll have to install it, and you can use it. There are multiple other things as well inside that, but yeah, this is just a good to know one, but mostly people will stick to this only. If it is the only requirement you have, better stick to this. Okay, if you are using multiple other features which your Ramda library is allowing you to, and you are using it in multiple places, then it is good to import the library and then use it. Else stick with this, just one way of, good to know one. Okay, so this is just a functional composition. Okay, you can compose one functions into multiple things and then pass the results to other things. And the other two is already you guys know. What a higher order function, guys? What a higher order function? Can you come again, Sudhakar?
First order function.
First, no, like
Functions,
what is there?
Functions which take other functions as parameters are higher order functions.
Yes, correct. Very good. Very good. Higher order functions are something which takes in other functions as a parameter or returns other function as a parameter. Correct? For example, set timeout, right? Set timeout. Quick example would be that one. What is the first thing? Handler, a callback function, right? And a timer. Is it taking a function itself as an argument? Yes or no? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah. So can I call this set timeout as a higher order functions? Because it is taking a function as a parameter. Can I call set timeout as a higher order function?
Set timeout.
Yes, right? Any clarifications on that? Is anyone telling me that set timeout is not a higher order function? Because it is taking a callback function. Okay, it is taking a function as an argument. So any function which accepts function as a parameter or returns a function, we call them as higher order functions. Okay, so that is all about, functional programming style. So pure functions, make sure it is immutable, all your objects are, and yeah, use as much as functional composition possible, and also you can use higher order functions. So these are just the programming style. All the concepts just this rules part and how new thing I would say this object.freeze thing. Okay, but everything else is already known to you, how it is behaving. Just the rules and how it is behaving is what we will have to revise. Okay, half an hour more left. Let me go and check this one. Am I audible, guys?
Yes, but
because that 9 minutes has gone, okay. We'll restart in 90 minutes. Okay, good. I'll just have that open. Okay. I haven't updated the system and they have mandated it. So yeah, that's the reason. Okay, guys. Any doubts? Let's go to the chat. There are too many things. Okay, Abhishek has asked, if we are doing some mutable operations in if statement, is it still MPR function? Yes. Okay, are you changing the variables which you received? Are you mutating the inputs arguments and changing it to something else, modifying the input itself? Anything you do for computation purpose, that I cannot tell it as immutable, right? Let's say you are doing some, instead of add, if you are doing some other operations, you need to have certain variables, you need to have them inside, right? So that and all is not termed as immutable. Okay, anything you okay, anything you change it, okay, whatever you receive as an argument and modify it to somehow, okay, that will make it as an MPR. Okay, mutation operation, again, with what you do the mutation operation is important. Are you doing with something you receive? Are you modifying your external states? Meaning, are you modifying your external parameters? Okay. Is it because, okay, Prague has asked, is it because IO operations is not handled by JavaScript? It is handled by, yeah, let's not go into that thing and all. But generally, logging, more of doing all the side effects, right? Do whatever is intended to do and don't have any external dependencies like API calls or have for example the trying to read databases, for example, which we have Ajax requests and all. What is the explanation? Yeah, database connect. And when you come to Node and all, right? You have database connections with JavaScript itself, right? The scripting language itself, you can do database connection. You can do logging, reading, and writing in a flight. You cannot do it in client side. This part, yes, agreed. But when it comes to backend, the same JavaScript, same principles, same language, and all remains the same, right? So yeah, obviously this logging and the database doesn't apply to client when it is on the whole what functional programming style is. Okay, and got it, Prav? Any doubts on that? Okay, Rupam, array slicing is a pure function because it does not change the original array. Rather, it returns a new array. It is better. Yeah, yes. I think splice modifies it. There is a difference in slice and splice.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, right. So splice, SPLICE, modifies the array. So it is not pure. Whereas what you are saying is correct. Yes, correct.
Yeah, like ma'am, concat, map, filter, reduce, array slicing. These are pure function, right?
Correct, correct. Anything which doesn't modify my array are called pure functions.
Yes, ma'am.
Unless and until you don't go and console.log something and do the side effects thing, it is still pure. Okay. And we'll have to do obj.name : why colon, Abhishek? Sorry, was it in between the class or something? He's telling me obj.name : PSD. This will work? No, right? This will give me an error. Okay, sorry if I have understood your question wrong, but yeah. Here we can, okay, yes, correct. Deep freeze, correct. Yeah. I think the question parts I have handled it. Any other doubts on today's session? We haven't done MCQs, just done the first one and then got carried away. Yeah, I'll quickly, I think with the MCQ part, we will be left with some time only. Okay. I am adding the MCQ. None of you reminded me as well, please. Okay. So, okay. Tata batch, go. Got logged out. Just a minute. Give me some more time. Session got logged out. I'm about to submit and then it went off. Any doubts? No, not only on today's class, your entire JavaScript itself, you can ask any doubts. Added MCQ to data batch. Any doubts with your CCs and assignments? Are you able to do it? Still, I cannot completely say the JavaScript is completed, okay? Even I cannot say that I have completed learning JavaScript. No, it doesn't work that way. I'm still learning, if I have to say it very specific, okay? Still learning. But that is how it is, right? You cannot learn a language in 30 days. It doesn't work that way. Basics, foundations are taught, only it comes with practice. I've added it for Baba batch as well. MCQ, second one. Okay. Simple one, just arithmetic operations. The third one is something I have already discussed in class again. Okay, I have added third MCQ to Tata batch. Yes, I have few messages in the chat. Yes, I'm coming back to you guys. Yes. Added third MCQ to Baba batch. Okay. Last one. Okay. All easy stuffs, nothing complex. Can I add the last MCQ? Am I adding it continuously so I don't find time to prototypal inheritance? You don't understand, Rupam. Okay, what is first class citizen function? We will see these two questions. Let me post the last MCQ. Added the last MCQ for Tata. Baba and you can also give any topics that you wanted to discuss in Saturday. Today we will see prototypal inheritance. Okay, what are first class citizen functions? Just a definition thing. I will explain prototypal inheritance if you wanted to. Okay, if you wanted any other topics to be discussed on Saturday, you can very well share anything related to JavaScript, because tomorrow we will start with Node.js introduction part. So on Saturday, we can allot the entire day for the JS only. You can suggest rejects concepts. Okay, that is noted. Added last MCQ for Baba batch as well. Okay, I have added attendance also. Session is over. If you don't want to learn, if you are confident on prototypal inheritance, you are feel free to leave. Yeah, have added attendance as well. Okay, let's give 2 minutes. Let everyone complete the MCQ and then come back to the class. Rupam, we will do it. Async and await. Yeah, but I think like if you are comfortable with promise. Okay, so I have just a question. If your promise concept is clear, async await are just two keywords. Okay, so do you want me to cover promises or do you want me to cover just the async and await part alone?
Ma'am, I want to ask about promises. Ma'am, we learn promise 2 to 3 days. Ma'am, first day we learned different methods, second day different, and third day different. Can you tell me only one method or two method I should be know so that I'll learn that only?
No, it's not methods. Let me come again.
Okay.
This is generators, right? So this is promises. Is this one? Okay. So on the first one, yeah, this you can just know, right? Like this is Ajax request, right? More of HTTP request, traditional way, right? This kind of, not this one. Okay, that was the earlier thing, right? Yeah, this one. This open, on load, on error. This you need not know much, okay, because nowhere it is being used. This you can ignore. Okay, so ignore in the sense know what it was, but not in depth. Okay, we will not be using this in the projects. Okay, so Yeah, and then we saw what promises are. Okay, so let's come to day 15. Okay, on this day we saw how to use promises. Okay, we got a promise from fetch. We saw how to use it, how to handle promises, how to handle its states, how to consume promise data and all. Okay, dot then, dot catch. We saw chaining, right? Dot then, dot then. So this is a chaining actually. Dot then, and you can just add dot then here itself instead of saving it and using dot then. This is just for the explanation thing. I can simply put this dot then there itself. How to use it, how catch works, dot then works. Okay, this is about more of how to handle promise states and how to use it, how to handle the data which you get it from the promise. Okay, the next day what we saw is how to create a promise ourselves, right? Create my own promise. Still the way you handle the states, the way you handle remains the same. So this is our way of creating our own promise. Okay, how to reject, how to resolve, how to set a timeout for it and then resolve it whenever I wanted to. So this is more of creating a promise. Okay, this is more of using the promise. Okay, so both you will have
wait and
yes, we are coming to do that. Okay, so this you will have to know. You have to create, you'll have to know what all it is being done, that you'll have to know. Await and async are just just two keywords to make it look like synchronous processes, right? So 15, it's just like a simple JavaScript, no complex dot then and all here. If you see here, this and all are, taking a callback function. You don't know when it is going to be executed. You don't know the order of execution. You have a dot then and all. So if you just simply write in this way, you know that immediately after line 15, it will wait for some time. And once my promise is resolved, it go to next line. So the look and feel would be similar to synchronous processes only, but internally it is also using promises only. It is just a short form of promise to handle promises. Okay, still we are only handling it here. We are not creating promise. Okay, instead of handling a promise in this complex way where you don't know when this thing and all is getting called, this async and await solves that problem only. Okay, just two little keywords to handle promise states so that it looks like a synchronous way, but internally it is still promise only. If you see here, fetch is returning promise, and it is used to handle promises in a more syntactically better way. Okay, these are not concepts. Internally they are still promises only, just two keywords to make your code look like a synchronous and also much readable. Okay, yes. Rubam has asked me. Okay, doubts clear, Shreyas?
Not
yet
clear.
Okay, learn.
Ma'am, I'm asking that I want one simple method or one method that simply I learn all the steps.
Okay,
yes,
okay,
ma'am.
okay.
That's what
Learn
I'm
this.
asking.
Learn to create promises.
Yes, ma'am. That
okay.
creation part.
Learn to handle it in this way. Learn it in this way. Okay. This you will learning this wait and async, not much of a thing to do. Okay. Learn how to handle it, how to handle promises, how to use dot then, how to handle chaining, how dot catch is being performed. Okay, leave aside this async await. So as and when you are programming, right, you will feel that it's better to use async await than using this dot then and all. But you will have to know this. No other go. Okay, there are situations, yes, you cannot use these keywords. No, use dot then only to learn as of now. Okay. Yeah, the async and await are just syntactic differences.
Okay. So 15. Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Rupam, I'm coming to prototypal inheritance.
Ma'am, MCQ 4 first explain me that.
Okay, MCQ 4.
Yeah, because ma'am, array is also treated as object, right? So you are console.log type of that args, That is the object.
Okay. Let me check that. Type of.
This array is also treated as object, right?
Correct. Yes. I got the point. That should be that only. Correct. Yeah, that is yeah, mistake from my side. It's an object. Okay.
Yeah.
Ma'am, could you explain second MCQ?
Yes. This one? Okay. So my number is 0. Let me go to code editor. Yeah. My number is 0 initially. Okay. So now what am I doing is doing a post increment. Okay. Post increment, what it does is first you have the number only, right? So it will go and log number first. So what will happen is your number will become, sorry, not log number first. Okay, so first what it will happen is it will have the number and then increment it. Okay, it will substitute the number here and then increment it. Okay, so when I'm going to substitute the number first, what is my number initially? 0. So 0 will be logged. Okay, and then my number will be incremented. It will become 1. First line clear?
Yeah, ma'am.
Substitute the number first and then increment. I am substituted 0 and then incremented. Okay, so next thing, increment and then substitute number. Okay, increment meaning 1 will become 2 now. Okay, and then substitute. So when I'm going to substitute 2 in place of number, my 2 will be logged, right? Here I'm just logging the current state of my number. So it's again 2. So 0, 2, 2. Clear?
No, ma'am, it's not clear. No.
Once again?
Ma'am, it's not clear. Not clear.
Okay. So initially it's, okay, so let's leave this console and all. Okay, let's have the number. Okay, let's have the first statement alone. Okay, there are 2 types of operators. Okay, incremental operators here. This is post increment. Okay, and this is pre-increment. Got it? 2 types. Okay.
Yeah.
What your post increment will do is, in the place of the variable, it will first substitute, meaning it will first substitute the value of 0. In number, it will become as 0. Got it? And then only the actual value of number will be incremented. Clear this part? Just substitute the current value. Initially 0. Okay, I am not incrementing it. Initially it is 0. In place of number, just substitute that value itself, 0, right? Currently I have 0. So I just substituted in the place of number, I just added 0. Okay, and then I am doing this operation, plus operation, which is an increment operation. So I am going and changing my number to 1. First line clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that is what is happening here, and that is the reason you get 0 here. Coming to second line. Okay, first increment my number. Okay, my number is 1. First I am incrementing it to 2. Okay, first increment my number and then substitute. Okay, now when I am trying to substitute, what my number refers to? 2, right? I have already incremented. So my number is changed to 2 now. So when I'm trying to substitute now, my 2 will be substituted in this place. Clear second part?
Yes, ma'am, clear.
Okay, so that is what post and pre is. First, give the number, first output the current value of my number and then change the value. Okay, here, change its value and then give the number. Okay, here I have nothing to do. Just the current state is 2. So I'm just logging in that. Work with many things, front and back with many operators like this, you will get the practice. Okay. Rupam is here. Okay. So prototypal inheritance is nothing but let's say I have let obj is equal to array 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's an array, right? So if I go and ask for obj, okay. So obj dot, can you see multiple methods here?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So where it is coming from?
Array prototype.
Yeah. So you have an array class, right? So internally, if you declare const arr, which is equal to 1, 2, 3, okay, internally it is using array class, right? You have an array class, right? Array dot, okay. JavaScript has an inbuilt array class like this, and that is the reason, okay, you have, if I have to say, internally there is a class called array, and you have all the methods which we saw, right? At or concat.
Yes.
Okay, all these internally Java has this class, and that is the reason using this object you are able to access all this method, correct? Okay, got till here?
Yes,
That
sir.
is the reason my obj is able to access all, excuse me, yeah, all these methods. But how is it able to reference it? I know it is created from array. Okay, I know it is created from array, and I know that it can access it. But how is it doing? How is it accessing it? There should be some reference to it.
Yes.
Something which says go and look into this array class and go, there is a method. Something should say, right? It should point to something else. So that is actually done with a property called proto. If I go and see, can you see all the methods of array?
Yes.
Okay, so now let me give you an example. Okay, now I'm just going and making this as none. Okay, now even though it is still an array, okay, data and all is not modified. Let me go and access concat. Can you see it's not a function? I have removed that reference itself. Okay, I have removed that reference itself. Okay, so this is how it is able to, this is not prototypal inheritance. We have not still covered that topic. Okay, this is, I am removing the reference of how it is accessing its parent class methods. All these classes now I cannot access.
Yes.
Okay, so let me go and check for, have arrays are on top of objects. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Okay, let's let's have a simple obj name, which is name. Okay, so this is an obj. This will also have its own proto. Correct?
Yes.
This is plain object. Okay, let me come back to our array only. Let us go with the first one. Okay, now my obj dot proto gave me arrays constructor, right? Everything which was in my array class, correct? So now if I'm going and asking for obj dot proto, now what do you think would be the output? What is on top of array? Object, right? Right. So this is object, right? So even though my array will not has own property and all, if you see here, my array, simple array will not have has own property. Does it have this has own property?
Nope. No.
Doesn't have, right? So it will first go and check. Okay, if I go and ask for dot has own property, okay, it is giving me a value, but it will first go and check if my array class has the method. Okay, that is, it will go and check the proto. Okay, if this array class has that method, if it is not there, it will go to its proto, that is object, and then go and access it. If this is also not there, it will go to root. What is above object? Null, right? So,
Yeah.
and that is the reason why if you give, if you have some other method name, it is giving error, right? Let me go and make object alone null. Okay, the objects, though the arrays proto only is null. Okay, now if I go and ask for has own property, it is giving me an error because it first went to its proto and checked in the array class. It checked if I have has own property, it is not there, and it will go to its next, right? That is the immediate object itself. I have made that to null, so now I get an error. So it will go till it is null, and then only it will give you an error. So this exactly is what we call it as a prototypal inheritance. Okay, so it will inherit my array. My array, obj is not a right name. Let's assume it to be ARR. Okay, my array is inheriting everything from its array class, everything from its parent object itself. Let's say you construct something on top of array only, have your own definition of array class. So it will inherit till the root. It will just first, it will go see its immediate parent, and then it will go to array class, and then it will go to object. So it will keep on going till my proto is null, and then only it will give function, no, not defined. So it is kind of, this obj is inheriting everything from where it is created from object till whatever it is created from, it will able to inherit everything due to this proto keyword. And that is exactly what we call as prototypal inheritance. You are able to inherit all the methods and properties of my object inside the array.
So ma'am, a object that inherits property from another object is prototypal inheritance.
Yeah, that chaining, right? This chaining,
Yeah,
you
chaining.
can say, yeah, that chaining exactly you can call as, the inheritance part.
Okay.
Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any other doubts? Yeah, I have 10 of you here. Any doubts, guys? But Rupam, again, this is something for illustration purpose. Okay, you should not do something like this inside the code. Okay, to be noted, you should not change the reference. It will just destruct the way JavaScript behaves itself. Simply do not change this keyword. This is mentioned. They can simply have it as proto, right? So they have mentioned with double hyphen so that people won't modify it simply with the name. Okay, it's just, it is possible, still it's not a good practice to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, others, any doubts? Bhavan, Swapnil, Sapna, Imran, Shabir. Okay, async await and rejects concept Saturday. Any other concepts to be viewed on Saturday to be discussed? Okay then, good night. Bye. Good night, everyone.